I find it also a little bit like disgusting how like you have people like Chuck Schumer and stuff like
Hmm.
that showing more outrage over the Kimmel firing than the actual shooting.
Well, when
Well,
people
yes,
fund
because
go on, go on.
they only have sympathy for those that they see as actually being human. And they
Hmm.
don't
Exactly.
see they
Yeah,
don't see Kirk as human. They don't see us as human,
they see
but
him
they
as
do see their
a
speaking head as
fascist,
human
even though
because
he's
they
not.
need him.
Yeah.
What people
Yeah.
need to, well, sorry, Galaxy, but what
Oh, no,
people
that's a
really
no.
need to,
Sorry.
what people need to understand, and this is what my mentor taught Smash JT, who was a guest of a previous network show. What my mentor taught him was the opposition see any damage to their ideology as akin to physical damage. That's why a murderous political assassination was conducted against Charlie Kirk, because he was the most effective at damaging, undermining, and effectively killing the leftist ideology, to use an American term, because you guys don't know how to spell communism. And that's why they killed him. Because to them, if you harm their ideas, you might as well be harming them. To them, words are violence. That's why when you listen to what these people say, like all extremists, listen to what they say because they truly believe it. And that's the
Yeah.
dangerous thing about extremists is that unlike most moderates, some moderates are principled
Real
folks, don't get me
moderates.
wrong.
Real
But
moderates, not fake moderates.
almost all extremists will tell you what they're going to do and will do it, whether it's in politics, economics, even the extreme creative types, right? If they want to do something, they'll do it because their radicalism drives them forward. Whereas with moderates, most moderates they climb the greasy pole, they play the game, they backstab, and you scratch my back, I scratch yours. And that's how the center has basically, well, the center in air quotes, has been dominant since the end of the Second World War. Because, they dodge and weave. That's why politicians don't answer questions, because they are of that ilk and of that type. That's why Donald Trump was so refreshing, because he had that radical mindset, but he wasn't crazy, right? And that's the
Right.
balance. That's the balance you need. You need a radical who isn't going to blow up your country. Unlike Jimmy Kimmel, who will blow up your country just for a laugh.
Oh, like he has literally laughed at the idea of like people losing their jobs, of people
Of course.
dying. Like he
Of
is
course.
a horrible human being, and like I've always like his hatred like for Trump like made him a terrible person because it bled into like almost everyone else.
Absolutely. But
No, it
if
didn't
you,
make him a terrible person. It was such a level of hatred that he was finally comfortable dropping his guard. These people have protective shields up to make it not look like they're terrible people. They say the funny thing, they say what's in the zeitgeist some of the time, so they think they are, in fact, the voice of the people.
I think it's very important to realize that if the camera always told the truth, folks, we'd find out a lot more about scandals than we would otherwise. That was the thing about Jimmy Savile in the UK. He was in front of people's televisions for the best part of 5 decades. It wasn't until he died when people found out about all the sexual shenanigans he did, right? And the same is true with the people in front of the camera and behind the camera in Hollywood, in the entertainment industry, and in the news media for the most part. Of course, there are rare exceptions here and there, but they are the exception. They're not the rule. That's why when someone like Trump goes rogue and upsets the whole balance of power and the whole system, that's why they're panicking. That's why TDS became a thing. It's like, a once great antibody for the system went rogue and is now causing havoc to try and make things better for the people as well as for himself. Let's not be naive about that.
Rival Jace, you say that someone in sports, like a sports player, actually made that comment, and Jimmy Kimmel got very, very defensive.
Oh yeah. Oh, his ass has definitely been on the island because he gets fucked all the time. Okay, folks, that's probably why he was there. Sorry to get all dark. Okay, but that's the way of the world these days. That's why they cover things up. That's why they hide all the lists and all sorts of shenanigans behind the scenes, because it's not all sunshine and rainbows. And it's good to see Rival. I'm just going to call you Jose because every time I see that word, I think Jose.
Yeah, that is him.
That's
That is
Jace.
him.
Oh,
Yeah, it's him.
nice. Hey, man. If you can make it on the panel, you're welcome on.
I don't know if it's him or not. I just
it's him.
the same name, so I just
Pretty
say
sure it's
Jose. But it's good to see Mikey over at the goon
room.
The goon room. Well, it is the dude room if the goon is a gay, folks. And we're just going through the fact that Jimmy Kimmel is a hateful individual who doesn't want any of you to be free and was very gleeful.
He loves it quite a lot.
Yeah, see, he's on his personal account. He says he's at work.
There we go. Well, hopefully you're not blaring this out at work. Black Lives Matter! Wakanda forever!
Liar.
No, the truth. It's
All
the
right,
truth.
let's get on to the next topic.
What?
Oh, or you want to still talk about Kimmel?
Of course we want to talk more about Kimmel, because Kimmel Dash is just, to wrap up this topic, because every topic needs to be wrapped up, just like you like wrapping things up when you do the deed.
Everyone should wrap things up when doing the deed, Digny. Come on. That's basic hygiene.
Depends on what you mean. But
Well, we need more people. But in regards to Jimmy Kimmel, he is a symptom of the wider problem, and I understand ours as concerns. We don't want this to turn into a witch hunt or a red scare or that sort of thing. But we also must realize that we have to take a better safe than sorry approach. Of course, that's going to lead to some for lack of a better term, casualties along the way. But to use a leftist talking point, it's for the greater good, Arza. It's to ensure America has a tomorrow.
Since I haven't talked about stream, do you guys want me to break down my level of concern?
Sure,
Why I'm concerned about it?
Of course,
just
absolutely. We want dissenting opinions on this show.
Of course, I want to pad out this topic.
Yeah, the devil advocate point of view.
One of my most recent videos, the last one I put out before the one I'm going to put out later today, was actually talking about my concern with firing a lot of these people, because I don't think every single person who denigrates Charlie Kirk or makes fun of his death should be fired. Well, they should be, but ought they? They are celebrating terrorism, which is an OSHA violation and a crime. They are cheering on the death of somebody whose beliefs are generally representative of 50% of the country, meaning they do wish the same on about 50% of the country. So I understand the reason to want them all to be fired, and they technically do deserve to be fired. But is it the best thing to do to fire them? When you look at what Charlie Kirk preached, when you look at what the Bible preaches, it's really antithetical to that, to hold them to such an extreme level of punitive action. When we're firing them, and being fired is not a small thing. When you get fired for this kind of thing, not only does that mean you now lose all financial security, but you're losing future as well. Because when your employer looks you up, they're going to see, oh, you were on charliesmurderers.com. And now you yourself also you can't get rehired either. So it's cutting you off from future chances of recovery as well. It doesn't leave a lot of room for forgiveness, for growth, or personal development. And most importantly, we're dealing with a lot of mentally deranged people who are not stable and are not able to control their own emotions because they have never once had to inhibit. So what will somebody do if we take away personal responsibility and we take away their last thing to live for. This person has cut off their family. They've cut off their friends. They've cut off their loved ones. They have nothing of
cut off
value
their
anymore.
penis.
Well, they did that.
Yes, they did that. And so the only thing they have left now is their job. Well, we take away their job. They now have nothing to live for, ostensibly. So what will they do next? I am legitimately concerned that firing some of these people will lead to more violence. We want another... I think firing them will lead to the next Charlie Kirk. That is where it's going to come from, by firing them.
If that's the case, then they were already dangerous to begin with.
Well,
Yeah,
Dash,
they can
I
stay
think
home-
that's
handle-
exact.
Yeah.
Look, if you want a pretext to get rid of your political opponents, folks, lumping them all as terrorists is a great way to do it. You know, when you really think about ours as perspective, now think of yourself as a slimy political operative on the right who's sick and tired of the left poisoning the discourse. Of course, you want them all to be driven to extremism because that'll justify a Red Scare on steroids, right? So when you think about it, when you use the sword against the sword, you're going to get the end point of a culture war. And the end point of a culture war is a war, whether you like it or not. And that war, as we've seen across the modern world, will naturally devolve into terrorism. Sorry, YouTube, for the problematic words, but this will be towards the end of a video, and your algorithm won't be bothered to look it up. And I think...
If I can also just offer one other point. A lot of these people also... They're not properly cognizant. They're not fully aware of the real world. They live in a very tight bubble, a very small bubble of influence. So they don't actually see the world. They don't know what Charlie believes. And when you fire them, because these people legitimately think they're fighting fascism. They don't know what fascism is, so they think what they're doing is fighting it. And so when you fire them for what they see as a righteous cause, what you are doing is convincing them that fascism has won. You're convincing them that the thing that they've been fear-mongered about is true. And so I do think it might be more influential and better focused if instead of firing them, of course, fire the teachers, fire the government employees, fire the military, fire those of influence. But people like janitors, baristas, pencil pushers, if we show them the grace they have denied us for so long, at some point they can't deny that we are showing them grace.
We have shown them grace, though. That's my
Yeah,
opinion.
it's been like that for years.
Yeah,
We've been trying to give them grace.
I tried to live and let live.
Gentlemen, we also have to consider how much the discourse has changed over the past decade, especially. And I think a lot of people would have supported ours' mindset 10 years ago, but the same moderate, the same moderate-minded people, Red, won't support that mindset of reconciliation now because they're sick and tired of what the opposition are doing. And you know, it's very natural for a human being who is sick and tired of someone for years, if not decades, to have this mentality of revenge. For how many years did Jimmy Kimmel spew his nonsense, and people were like, I don't want this guy in the discourse. I want to get rid of him. And I'm sure those people were celebrating when his show got pulled.
We're gonna